Big Blue Thumb Productions presents the Podlie Podcast. Here's your hosts, Podlie Bill, Podlie Cliff, and Podlie Paul. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Epi 98, and the comments are already filled up our comment board here.
Holy criminy sakes.
Laura's in first. She says she came in before, so we did a different intro tonight. We had a splash screen up and running, then we did our 30-second countdown. So Laura's in first for a big 2,500 points. Jeremy's in early. What's that? 1,500 points for Jeremy. Good morning, Jimmy. Did you just wake up? And Donna, wow, the countdown. Marvin, hi all.
And look
Paul.
what my lovely wife just dropped off right next to me.
Oh, wow.
Booyah!
I've got my
Oh, you got your NASA one. Nice.
my NASA cup tonight. Paul Thunberg. Yeah, I'm not sure what Paul Thunberg.
Cheers. I think he means Turnberg, but nonetheless.
Thunberg.
Hey, no yelling at people, dude. All right. They deserve to be yelled at, but no yelling. All right.
And William.
Hey, William. How are you, buddy?
Oh, hello. And Cheryl Salter Roberts has joined us with. She likes my cup. Yeah, and I have tea in here tonight. I'm actually drinking. This is actually a Christmas tea, believe it or not, that I'm drinking.
A Christmas tea. What is what is a Christmas tea?
Well, it's
not coffee. I'll tell you that much.
Paulie.
Wait
Wait a minute. If it's not coffee, why are we talking about it, Paulie?
That's right.
It's
If it's not coffee, it's cup.
It's tea in a NASA cup. So
That's a cup.
I'm changing the topic. The whole show is going to be about my tea tonight. So I'm going
Nice,
to hold it
let's
for
do
the
it.
whole hour right here.
Let's do it. Listen, Bill, Paulie and I are the ones that are the chatterboxes. So it's about time that we focused on something that you were doing. Right? I mean, normally, Bill, we focus on what Paulie's doing, like French maid outfits and stuff. But I think
Normally
I think focusing on you and your
Because
team.
I'm not the one commenting on that. Apparently, I'm just wearing it.
Apparently.
Oh, come on, Paul. You've commented on it too.
Oh, look what Leslie Ann says. Cliff, watch out for the lemon seeds. Unbelievable. She didn't remove the seeds.
So what exactly is in there? Is that just lemonade or is there alcohol in there?
Don't be ridiculous, Bill. Why do you ask such questions?
Right?
That's like asking if I like coffee. No,
Paul?
it's
And Cliff, do you
soda.
guys like coffee?
It's soda and a little bit of vodka and a little bit of lemon. So
Wow.
there you go.
How come Leslie Ann never makes us drinks? Paul and I are always left out.
You guys are too far away.
The
Well,
address is 4624.
Yeah, we can give you the address.
And you're so far away from me.
Could we skip the drinks?
Look at Donna May. Look at Donna May. I was wondering how quickly the topic would be derailed. Yeah, it took us about 1.3 seconds, Donna May.
It doesn't take long, Donna May.
Doesn't take long.
Instantly derailed.
Hey, William James Kirkland is watching on his phone and on YouTube. Thanks so
Oh,
much.
dude, that's awesome.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic. And hey, we haven't got to the topic yet, Donna. Don't worry, we'll get there.
We'll get that, Donna. Don't worry about it.
Only to switch it up as soon as we talk, as soon as we mention it.
I love it when these guys know us so much that they just start pounding at us in the first minute, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it.
Laura says, I'm excited eggnog is back. Yeah,
Oh,
eggnog
look at
is
that.
back. You're correct. I have seen it in the stores. But on that note, so how was your guys' week there, Mr. Paul and Mr. Cliff?
Yeah, Paulie, how was the week, buddy?
Last week was a long one. It was long. Well, it's always long last week, right? Because I got this week off.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that'll do it. How, you
So-
got the whole week off?
I got the whole week off. I
I only have
took
to
it
work
off.
3 days this week myself.
Well, I deliberately took it off. I needed to I was tired, man. I was just starting to feel it. It was, starting to boil over right over to about here, right? So
I know those Monday night podcasts tire you right out.
I know, right? It's ridiculous. Really.
Yeah.
that's exactly right. So
Yeah. I'm wearing a
no,
full state outfit every day too. Yeah.
it chafes. It really chafes. It chafes. No, I am good. My son played goalie for the first time, hockey. It was a bloodbath. Well, okay, and here's the thing, and this is really tough for a 9-year-old. It was a bloodbath, but it was a bloodbath because nobody in front of him knows what the hell to do. Like it, and he was just devastated. He was really devastated. He really was. I mean, we had four defensemen that weren't even doing any. We had four. No, let me rephrase that. We had four defensemen at the same time who weren't defending the puck. We had nobody going. It was so. I mean, guess who it shows on? It shows on the goalie who let in 6 goals, right? But so he was really dejected last night. He was dejected when I saw him today. So it's tough on a kid, but you know.
Well, they'll get through it. As you know, my grandson Beckett is a goalie, and he's been playing goalie full time for about 3 years now. So, and he's playing in a higher tier now this year because
Yeah.
he's tiered up, and he just played the weekend in a tournament with kids that are like even 2 levels higher than him. So, but it takes time. He also does goalie lessons and goalie training, and but you're going to have those bad games once in a while.
Well, it's funny, Bill, because his goaltending was the least of the worries on that team. I tell you, it was people not knowing which end of the ice to line up at center. It was
That's
bad.
what happens in the young age, though. They'll learn.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. Donna May, am I off for the kids' PD days? Yeah, we're heading out. We're going to the mountains. We're gone on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We're gone. So yes.
In another life, I would be a teacher.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for, brother. I grew up with 2 teachers. Holy shiny. It was they were up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning for doing report cards weeks on end. And I mean, all of the little stickers and all of the little erasers comes out of the teacher's pockets, baby. And I don't know.
That's a lot of pocket bulging if they're carrying all those erasers around.
That's it's I don't know. Teachers have got a lot
30
of
kids
work.
got to carry 30 erasers in your pockets.
A lot of work. So, big pockets.
I don't know. Hey, man, a lot of the stickers come from my pocket for my schools, but yeah.
So,
well, not my company's pockets.
And how was your week there, Cliff? Before we get on, to
it was good. It was busy. Busy. Just as anybody knows, in a position such as yours and mine, Bill, and I'm sure Pollie's the same way, just in a different facet, I guess. But there's always 1,000 things pulling at your attention, right? And everything needs attention immediately, and you just have to sort of prioritize and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this first. I'm going to do that first. But in my job, we have a short season. It's a very limited amount of time to get certain things done, to be able to even prepare yourself for the following year or do something good for the following year, because the cycle is so long, as you can guess. So in terms of that, we're in our busy season, and while the actual photography part of it for the schools are coming to an end, guys like me are ramping up to try and do what we can for the following season, and this is the time to do it. So yeah, just like you are probably very aware, things constantly pulling at you from 100 different angles, and it gets to the point where you're like, I don't know what it is that I should be doing, and try to you try to juggle things as best you can, right? So
yeah, no, for sure. I know what it's like, and especially even on my side, because we just took another big contract on as of Friday.
Oh, nice.
So I've got multiple jobs on the fly here.
On the fly,
everything's just going at 100 miles an hour. But working hard. And hey, Jeremy, happy anniversary! You're going to Banff on the weekend. Something about a 5-year anniversary you said in your next comment, or some nonsense.
Well, don't ask him, because Jeremy was a little confused at the last comment too. He wasn't sure.
Yeah. Are you sure it's your anniversary this weekend, Jeremy?
Is that the deal? Anniversary? And
about our 5-year anniversary or some such nonsense or something.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
So you guys going to Banff to celebrate, eh? Looks like that's kind of cool. And Jeremy, I'll just warn you, buddy, all right? If you're actually going to come up with and talk about chlorofluorocarbons and so on and so forth, okay, you better be prepared to discuss. And none of this leaving away and flying away to Banff and all that type of stuff. This could be a whole weekend discussion.
Yeah. And Cheryl says pocket bulging early on.
Those teachers, I tell you.
Yeah, those teachers in their bulging pockets.
What you got there, Paulie?
Yeah, I feel left out because I'm just having tea now.
Seems to me you have a growler there. Jasper Brewing Company.
You got it, baby.
Dude, I think you are left out with your tea, my friend.
Yeah, somebody doesn't have to go to work tomorrow.
So hey,
Oh.
Paul, why are you
Yes.
drinking out of a glass? Why don't you just drink it out of that bottle? It would look.
I
Like
was tempted, but I am on the internet, so at
Yeah.
at 9:01, maybe not so much, but
I'd have growled with the growler, to be honest with you.
Geez, that's a big mug you're filling up there.
I got this. When did I get this? I got this a long time ago, right? I want to see if it's still if the beer is still good. Yeah.
Got it 15 years ago.
Jeremy says he likes his chloroform chlorocarbons just as he likes his coffee. That's good, Jeremy.
I don't know about you, but I think my CFCs right now are German. I'm not sure.
German. So
speaking of all that, yeah, Cliff.
I was just gonna say that looks like a nice amber ale, Paulie.
It is delish, quite
It
frankly.
is,
I can't remember what it's called. It is German. Can't remember what it's called. It's yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. One of their house beers at Jasper Brewing Company when I was there.
If I were to read Jeremy's comments in chronological order, it says Andrea says hello on the 12th. Okay, I don't know why she's waiting till then, but that's okay.
She doesn't want to talk to us tonight.
Yeah, so he says Andrea says hello on the 12th. So we'll wait for that, I suppose. It's okay.
We'll just let's just sit quietly and we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll just it's all right then.
Yeah, we'll just sit here quietly and wait. Speaking of Germans, my kid's saying Schultz is the cutest.
He's trying to get him to say his whole name, and it's so funny. Anyway, let's go. Continue. Okay, so Billy, what about your week, dude? Hold on. Whoa, hey, hold the phone.
Sorry. No, my week was busy. Yeah, it was busy. Weekend was busy, winterizing and getting ready, around the acreage and finishing up some stuff that we we're working on and getting done, and built some new stairs. Sharon and I built some new stairs for the front of the house, put those on. Big new brick patio in the back that we got built and ready. In the springtime it'll be set, fire pit and everything on it. So busy doing that kind of stuff. And then like I said, work wise, it's just taken off. So which is a good thing, but it's just it's time consuming, that work stuff.
I know, right?
That work business.
Yeah.
It's a goddamn distraction, man.
It's
distraction at least 40-hour work weeks.
I know.
Yeah,
it's a distraction.
From it. But this week's a short week. It's only 3 days because we're closed Thursday, Friday. So
nice. Cool.
Yeah, a short week this week. So, but anyway, yeah. So topic wise, Jeremy's kind of hinted at it a little bit already.
No, sorry. I like what Laura says. Laura says, so no topic at all today.
So are we done then? Again, another one. Okay. Good night.
Laura knows this too well.
I didn't damn near change my last name for nothing. We better get in this topic.
I love the tonality of that. So no topic at all today. Well, wonderful show, guys.
The climate's changing on this show.
Really quickly, Bill. Really quickly.
Yeah.
All
Jeremy,
right. So Bill picked the topic.
Yeah, just hold on here. Jeremy, I knew some girls who took things off for work too. How long have you been taking off for work, Bill? Well, Jeremy, on that note, we're segueing right into our topic, which is climate change.
Nice.
So, no, I kind of want to throw that out there. I wanted to see what you guys, think. What are your beliefs in climate change? Are you a big believer in it? Are you one who's on the fence about it? What do you think is causing the issues of climate change, and what do you think we can do about it? Obviously, there's numerous organizations.
Are we still debating whether climate change is a thing or not?
There's still some people out there that are. Not me. I'm a believer in climate change. I believe it's happening. We see it here. We had this past summer, we had 30-degree temperatures most of the summer, only a couple of thunderstorms. Our winters seem to be a lot more mild, at least they do to me. And I've been in this area for, since I was born. And I remember winters hitting, in October, and snow up to your waist or higher and freezing all winter long. I used to hate it. But now our winters seem to be getting milder and milder. So obviously something is happening. And shorter. You're right. So something is happening. So yes, I'm a big believer that, our climate is changing. And I wanted to throw that out there. I wanted to get everybody else's thoughts. Are you a big believer in climate change, or are you like those people that are still out there that do sit on the fence? It's all gone quiet.
Paulie?
Well, no. Well, Bill, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I remember back in the day, and and I was walking to school, and albeit I was, I was a mere shorter than I am right now, but not that much, right? So I was,
Wait a
and I
minute.
remember
Was it uphill both ways?
it was hey,
Oh, it's always
salt and
uphill
lard
both ways back in the
salt and
day.
lard sandwiches barefoot, baby.
Perfect.
Um,
Continue.
and quite frankly, I agree, man. I had snow up to my knees going to and from for. I mean, obviously, time changes as you get older, but and this, that, and the other thing. But it seemed like forever when I was a kid. Honest to gosh, it seemed like I was up to my knees in snow till whatever
So,
beginning of
so let me
April.
pose a question then, right? So, you talk about that, how you were up to your knees in snow and blah, blah, blah. And I know I have pictures that my father-in-law has of 1974 when they had snow as high as the garage and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering if the people in 1974 going through that winter said, oh man, I remember when I was young in the early
Yeah.
50s,
Yeah.
it was so dry
Yeah.
and, there was never any snow. And, the winters were really short, man, and they weren't like this cold. I mean, right now it's so cold and we get so much snow. I mean, you should have seen it when I was young in the 50s. We didn't have that, right?
Well, even so, Cliff.
No,
even
I guess that's, I'm just obviously this is a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
No,
We can
I'm
go
sure
back. We can go back and look. So please, oh my God, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that was the case. I'm just saying that climate change is something that is not new.
Mhm.
Climate has always been changing. So the question as we thunk it down is how much of this should we be concerned about? And I think that's what I would guess that's what Bill meant.
Yes.
Obviously, that's what we all mean when we say climate change. I don't think any of us think that, oh, well, the climate's been static for 2,000 years and all of a sudden now it's freaking changing.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us think that. I think we all understand climate changes on a regular basis. What we're concerned to know is the kind of climate change that we're currently experiencing something that we should be concerned about as a global community? Does that sound like a good summary?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to preface Marvin. Marvin says deforestation and chemical release is my view of the worst catalysts. So do we, and to Cliff's point, do we think that is happening more? To Cliff's point, climate change has always been happening, but is deforestation and stuff like that actually increasing climate change to epically bad proportions that like we've never seen before, quite frankly?
Right.
Yeah. And Jeremy makes a good comment here as well. Just pop back to it. I think climate change is absolutely real. I think humans are responsible, at least in part, for the rate of change. I think recycling a plastic container will make literally zero difference to climate change.
Okay, well, I could take issue with that because you
I
talk
don't
about
know.
well, because you talk about recycling one container. Okay. And if we take it in terms of that could be very well considered the absolute reduced amount of effort necessary or capable of a human being. But if one person, let's say recycles 100 containers in a specified amount of time, and then 100 people do more than that, and 1 million people do more than that, and 6 billion people do more than that, and blah, 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 blah. Now it becomes exponential gains as far as what we put into the earth and what we're doing to the earth. So in terms of that, Jeremy, I get what you're saying. However, I think we have to worry about scale.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Individually, if we count individual actions, I doubt very much. Canada by itself, its actions are not going to make much difference. It's 2%, if that, of the world's emissions. Correct?
Yeah.
So if we say, screw that, Canada's only 2%. But then if Sweden says that, and Norway says that, and Germany says that, and all these little 2% add up, now we have a problem, right?
Yeah, that's simple math.
Right. So I get what he's saying, but of course, at the same time, I'm really.
I buck against that attitude, Jeremy. I buck against that attitude.
No, but okay, but personally, I get where Jeremy's coming from. All right, I really do. Let me ask you this, or let me say this, or let me state this, whatever, and we can take it from there. Part of the issue is concern. How concerned are we? How concerned should we be? I think we've established that is really what we're discussing, correct? We know climate change is happening. obviously.
Yep.
So the discussion really is not about climate change so much is, should we be concerned about it? Should we take drastic measures to mitigate the subject? Would that be a fair statement?
I think it's a fair
Yeah,
statement.
yes.
For sure, Cliff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Yes.
right. So now let's use real world examples of the people that actually are running our world. So there was over 200, probably closer to 400 private jets, all right, that went to the climate summit to discuss climate change. All right.
Yeah.
Now everybody's talking about that. I get that part. Okay. But I want to take a different tack on this. All right. So if you take 200 or 300 or 400, whatever the number is, it's irrelevant. All right. Because somebody's going to come on there and tell me it was 160. I don't care about the numbers. What I'm saying is there was a number of people between 200 and 400 that took private jets to go and talk about climate change. And these are the people whom we look at as leadership in this climate change situation, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you this then. Are these people simply calloused and don't care about the climate change issue? That's why they take their private jets? Or are these people not believers, or they don't think that climate change is a problem and they think it's a political issue and therefore they need to be on side? So am I explaining this properly? We have two options of how to interpret this. Either these people who are our leaders, either they don't care about climate change and that's why they chose to take their private jets, or they don't believe it is a problem, the kind of problem that they tell us it is. Which do you think it is?
Or it's a political statement because they have to look like they believe in it. So of course
but that's
you're going to show up to the political side.
Right, but I'm not talking about the showing up. I'm talking about the how they're showing up. So
Right,
how
well,
they're
true.
showing,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
how they're showing up puts two questions in my mind. One, do they not care about the actual climate change? Number one, or number two, do they not believe it and they're just playing the game? Because there's only two reasons why anybody would take 400 private jets to a climate change summit.
Mhm.
Either they don't believe it or they don't care. One of the two.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you guys think it is?
Well,
Easy.
Go
It's
ahead, Paul.
privilege. Cliff, it's privilege.
That still doesn't answer the question.
Oh, it means so right. So they have the privilege to take their private jets, right? So quite frankly, they're going to take their private jets,
So they
and
don't
they're going to funnel all of these taxes and everything down onto us because they are the privileged.
and I think it's just political perception. It makes it look like they care when in reality they probably don't.
100%.
But it's political perception. So if I look like I care, I'm at the political or the climate change event. Who cares if I fly my private jet there and I've put all these emissions into, our, atmosphere, ozone layer, etc. It's political perception. I'm there. I look like I care, but in reality, behind the scenes, they're sitting on their private jet flying there, doing other stuff just to make sure that they keep face with everybody else.
Okay, so the consensus is that climate change is as bad as they say it is, but they don't care. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's what I get on the political side.
Okay.
Even though they say they're constantly working on it and
Mhm.
trying to do things to make change, but you're right, Cliff. How are they making change when they're hopping on their private jet to fly to the climate change meeting?
Correct. It's what I tell my friends, right? Right now they throw around words like "I love you," right? I'm like, that doesn't mean jack to me.
Cliff, you're paying a carbon tax, are you not?
Yep.
Yep. Bill, you're paying a carbon tax, are you not? Yep, me too. I'm paying a carbon tax. You know what my wage is? My wage is $18 an hour. Now, these people that are taking their private jets, part of them being privileged is probably the fact that they don't have to pay any friggin' carbon taxes.
No, they do, Paulie. They do have to pay the carbon tax.
Well,
The difference is that they make more money than you and I do.
Well, that's okay, partially, but yes, absolutely. But they've got everything paid for them. Everything
Correct.
paid for them.
Correct.
Transportation and everything paid for them, and they're funneling it all down to us.
And Marvin makes the comment, I think a third reason is security. I can't see many of them risking public transport. Okay, but so then why take your jet? Why don't they do it online? If they're, then they're not
why not a Zoom meeting? I mean,
why they like that we're doing right now? Why can't they do the climate change meetings over Zoom? Why do they have to hop in their private jets and fly there?
I mean, our government held Parliament via Zoom, didn't they?
They did, yeah. So
I mean,
Why do they have to actually? I think that would make, it definitely makes more sense to me. Do it that way, because then
We
you're
have the
not,
technology.
or if it's in it, yeah, we have that technology. So
Right.
do it that way.
And on top of all of that, they could have taken all the money that they saved on the trip. I'm not even talking the emissions here, right? They could have saved
Yeah.
the emissions, but they could have taken all the dollars and the money that they
Dollars,
would have
yeah.
saved and put that into the climate change effort, right? Or giving it over to feed people. Do you know, there's a really interesting study that was out some years ago, and you guys can go and Google it. I'm not prepared to go into detail, but you can go and Google it and look at the study. It said that if you raise the the national individual GDP for $5,000 for every single human being on the earth, if you raise the personal GDP by $5,000, it'll have a direct impact on climate change.
Yeah, I've heard something to that effect too.
For the plus.
Yeah.
Right. Because I tell you what, if you're starving, I think we've talked about this once before, and I get very emotional about this. So you have to excuse me, but I'll tell you something. If a person is starving and they have no food in their belly, I promise you, they don't give a flying what about the environment.
Yeah. Completely
I'm telling you something. You know why I'm eating regular broccoli? Because I can't afford organic broccoli. That's why.
Right. So the fact of the matter is, Paulie, if you couldn't afford broccoli at all, I don't think your concern level for the bloody environment is going to be terribly high. It is a proven fact that as a society gets more affluent, they care more about the society that they're creating. As a society gets more affluent, they care more about the environment in which they live.
Did you know, and I read this, this was it's just a fact that I heard. It was an earworm that I heard about 15, 20 years ago. Did you know that the poorer you are, the less money that you make, the more you tend to give to nonprofit organizations and charities?
100% truth.
And that drives me up the freaking wall. You
and
talk
let me
about
tell you
being
this.
emotional, Cliff. I'm on board.
And let me just say this. Good evening and welcome to the middle of the podcast.
Oh, wow. Good timing. I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't even notice it was time. I was so busy listening to the conversation.
That was just like that. It was awesome. I love it. No, Paulie, I'm 100% man with you. And I'll go back to that, right? It's that I don't know any starving person is ever going to care about the environment. So I think we need ground level, root level, whatever the hell word you want to use. That's the kind of solutions we need. We need to lift people up at the very basis of society, at the very bottom of society. And as we lift them up, we will lift this entire planet up. I've said this for a decade. Okay. And I'm telling you, that's the answer. It's not, it's combined with other things, right? Let's not get carried away. It's combined with things, right? Obviously, you want more efficient vehicles. You don't want shitty vehicles, spewing massive amounts of effluent into the environment, right? We want efficient vehicles, but at the same time, just more efficient vehicles is not going to do it. We need people who can afford to buy efficient vehicles. We need to ensure people can afford to buy those efficient vehicles, correct?
Yeah.
And then if you're going to buy food, we need people who are able to buy the food which was created by more efficient production methods.
Yeah,
you're right.
Right. That's why you can't afford organic, Paulie. Because if somebody said to me, hey, listen, I have a pound of meat here that costs $8 and I'll sell it to you, or I can give you a pound of meat that doesn't have any environmental impact that costs you $16. I don't know that I could afford that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that any normal person within reason can actually afford that.
And Jeremy just said it point blank, right? Inflation. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, inflation is killing us now, but we haven't had any, Jeremy, in a long time. There's been about 10 years of inflation that really has been negligible within reason, right?
I disagree wholeheartedly, Cliff. I'll tell you something. You talk about okay, so here's the thing. 10 years ago, I used to go shopping. I used to do my 10% Tuesday. I used to get probably 2.5 cartfuls for $250 of food.
Yeah.
2.5. That was before that was 10 years ago. That was before I had kids. That was for my wife at the time and I. 2.5 cartfuls for 10% Tuesday.
Okay, but Paulie, I'm talking on balance, dude.
No, I get that. No, I
right?
understand.
I mean,
that.
you make
I
more
understand.
money now than you did 10 years ago, right?
No, and that's only because of what happened in my life, right?
Okay,
But
okay,
I'm not at the same job.
That's what I'm saying. On balance,
Yeah.
if you were to look at what I mean, and I'm not, you guys, I'm the first one to tell you that we've not kept up with inflation. But what I'm saying is, particularly in the last, I don't know if anybody's here from the 80s. I don't know if anybody remembers that mortgage rates were up in the 23%. All right. What are mortgage rates now? 2%? 1%?
Yeah, 1 point. Yeah, I'm at
1 point something percent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that 1 to 2.5 range. Yeah.
Right, Bill. So in the 80s, all right, there were mortgages in the early 80s that were at the 22% mark. So fine, a house can only costed 50 grand, but the interest rate was at 22%, right? So what I'm saying, Paulie, is on balance, if you balance everything out,
Yeah.
right? I don't know, maybe not 10 years, but maybe 5 years. Inflation has not really been. I mean, the bank rate, I don't know, has the bank rate changed, Bill, in the last 5 years in the
Not
US?
in the last 5 years. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't say it has.
It has, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry, I'm just scrolling through comments here because there's been a lot that's popped in.
Yeah.
So Jeremy's talking to you here, Cliff. He says, I don't disagree with you necessarily, Cliff, but I'm not understanding. How does raising people from poverty affect climate change? It seems if they stay poor, they aren't responsible for emissions in the first place. I'm not arguing against your point, but I don't understand the connection you're making.
Can I please respond to that?
Yep.
Jeremy, it's not about the individual, it's about the network. Okay, let me tell you something. If the poor cannot afford to buy a $2 tomato, okay, then the people producing the tomatoes have to produce a tomato that they can sell for $1. All right? Because that's all the market can bear. In order to produce that tomato for $1, they're going to have to cut some shortcuts. Let's assume we're talking about climate change. They're going to have to make some shortcuts on how they produce that tomato in order to be able to sell it for $1. All right. I don't know if you're understanding this or if I'm explaining this properly. My point is if you have the average mean, let's say you have a 35 grand a year as the poor. I don't know what it is. 24 grand, I think it is, where you are the poor. If you are in that range and you cannot afford to buy a tomato for $2, there are going to be companies that are going to produce that tomato for the amount that you can afford to spend. But in order to produce that tomato at that price, they're going to have to make some sacrifices on how they produce it and how much emissions go into the. And keep in mind, I'm using tomatoes as an example. I hope you understand that, right? So, does that make sense to you, Jeremy? Or does that make sense to either of you guys? What I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Cliff, for sure. And sorry, I'm jumping back here because Nicole is here. And thanks for jumping in, Nicole. Nicole has a comment, or at least green spaces in our community. We create community gardens to self-sustain, like shrubs, raspberries, blueberries, Saskatoons. If we have more along these pathways in our communities, we'd be able to lessen our grocery budget and grow our own veggies, which is true. But not everybody has the capability to get to those gardens, or maybe doesn't have the capability to do that either. So, but it is definitely an option. So Jeremy again throws in here. So we're talking more about the poor globally, not necessarily locally, for the kind of changes you mean.
Jeremy, that's what I said. Globally, if you raise the personal GDP by 5 grand, all right? Personally, if you use
5%,
5 grand, whatever that person is in the world, if you raise their individual GDP by 5 grand, you will get a massive uptake in what would be considered global warming friendly, climate friendly activity. All right, and it was a great study. Go and search it on Google, and don't just listen to what the pundits say, because the pundits are a bunch of bullshit. All right, they care about money more than anything. Go actually read the study yourself. Don't listen to some pundit telling you about it. Find the study, read it yourself. It's very interesting.
Yeah, Donna May says, Cliff, the market's going to live off those who can afford the costs. Poor go without.
No, Donna, that's not true. That's not true. The bottom line is the poor make up more of the buying market than the rich do. The rich don't spend their money. They don't need to. All right. They can
That's
buy
true. That's
everything.
why they're rich, Doname.
They can buy everything at the top of the market.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the poor always support. Believe it or not, it's the middle class and the poor that actually support society. If you look at it, the highest tax people and the people spending the most money to actually keep society afloat are the lower, middle, and lower class.
Yeah.
All right. The bottom line is Walmart would not exist. Walmart is an amazing business model. Do you know it's a funny thing? They hire people, they pay them very little, and then they have the lowest price for the product. So now these people are forced to buy the products at the store that they paid that is paying the paycheck.
Mhm.
So now they're literally indentured into the Walmart environment.
Yeah.
It's not like they can go to Sears or the Bay and buy clothes. You cannot work at Walmart and go to the Bay and buy clothes. If you work at Walmart, you have to buy clothes at Walmart. That's the fact. All right. And I'm not talking about people with dual incomes and husband works in a wife works in a wonderful job and the husband works at Walmart. No, I'm talking about a single person. If you work at Walmart, I promise you cannot buy clothes from the Bay or the Gap.
Yep.
You have to buy clothes from Walmart. Take that to the bank. Do with it what you will, and analyze that and tell me where you come out.
You're not going to see any multimillionaires going to Walmart.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. Correct? So, Donna, while I understand what you're saying, dude, I'm telling you something. Society and the economy is driven by the consumers, and the consumers are literally the middle class and down. The higher ups, honestly, they just buy what they need, and they buy the higher yachts, and they buy the bigger,
they buy the toys.
And Bill said you don't see any millionaires going to Walmart, and that's why Walmart is a billionaire company.
And their own, and you know what?
It's because the 1% is not shopping at Walmart.
No,
it's the other 99% that are shopping at Walmart.
And the 1% are not working at Walmart. It's the 99% that are working.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And Jeremy says now, Cliff, I do understand then. I missed that initial reference to the GDP. That does make sense, Cliff. Thank you.
Sounds good, Jeremy. I mean, it's a really cool thing, right? People talk about climate change, but they don't talk about the inherent cause of it. I know what I'm not talking about the cause, the scientific cause of climate change. And you know what? I suspect that the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? People, I mean, if you think that our world is going to be irreversible damage in 2050 and anything we do after that doesn't matter because we're all going to die because of climate change, personally, I'm sorry about this, but I think you're an idiot. All right. If on top of that, you think that climate change does not exist, doesn't happen, blah, 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 then I'm afraid you're just as much of an idiot. All right. Yeah. It's the people in the middle that say, listen, I know climate change is happening. I get it. It's probably not as bad as people say it is. It's probably not going to affect us as bad as people say it is because we have technologies that are coming up every day. So I get it. It's bad, but it's not that bad. And then the other people saying it doesn't exist. No, you guys, come on. It exists. You can see the evidence of it every single day.
And those are the same people that are in their bubble, even with what we've been going through, right? It's the anti-vaxxers, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing exists. They're hiding in their bubble.
And you know, whatever the case may be on both sides, I've said this a million times.
Shot across the bow, eh, Bill?
So Donna May says the middle class has been reduced for several years. I can send you the facts that the rich is greater and that the poor is greater and that the middle class is smaller.
That's right. That's the makings of a third world.
True.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know, just to go back to what Bill said, I like the shot across the bow part because he talks about anti-vaxxers and from what I can understand, people call anti-vaxxers anybody who has any questions about the COVID vaccine. They're called anti-vaxxers. It doesn't matter how many vaccinations they have, how many vaccinations they've taken, how many vaccinations they have taken their kids to, how many vaccinations they have advocated for. It doesn't matter. If they have one question about a COVID vaccine, they're called anti-vaxxers. See, these are the idiots I'm talking about. These are the same idiots that don't believe in climate change. These are the same idiots that think this world is going to come to an end in 2050. That's the problem with our society. I wish people would come someplace in the middle. and have a little bit of reasonability to their ideas and to their how they see the world. A little bit of reasonability. That's all we ask for. And I think that's what we need to do in climate change as well.
Now, does that affect? Excuse me. Does that affect the flat earthers as well?
No, William Shatner went up and he said the world is not flat, and he said because he checked. So we have to believe. So we have to believe William Shatner.
We got proof.
We got proof.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
So Donna May's challenging you here, Cliff. So she says, so Cliff, is that true then? Sorry. So Cliff, is that true then? If that is true, then how are the middle class able to support?
I'm sorry, I'm not really sure what she means if that's true. The middle class has been reduced for several years. I can send you facts. Actually, Donna, I'm sorry, I never read that comment, the middle class being reduced. Believe it or not, the middle class has actually been uplifted in the last decade. In the last 50 years, there have been more middle class created than any other time in the history of the world. That's the facts. And you can look that up. You can actually.
Is that true?
That's 100% true. 100% true. Look at India. Okay, in India, let's say at the turn of 1980, in India, there was no such thing as a middle class.
Yeah,
there was the very rich and the very poor.
It's the same thing in China, Cliff.
I was just gonna say it. It's the same thing in China. There was the very rich.
I saw it with my own eyes, man.
And the very poor. All right. Well, guess what? In the last 40 years, what's happened is the middle class have been there actually is a middle class now in China.
Yeah.
There actually is a middle class now in India and places like that. Well, that didn't exist 40 years ago. Yeah. All right. And Donna, you're laughing at me or laughing. That's good. And you say, wow, show me the facts. Okay. Donna, I'm sorry. You're going to have to do your own search for the facts. But I'm telling you something. If you actually go to why don't you do a Google search and look up the GDP of every country for the last 40 years and check it out on a graph and have a look, Donna, you'll see. All right.
You know, it's funny. I was in China from 2005 to 2008. 2008 was 15 years ago, less than. I left China less than 15 years ago. When I was there was no middle class, man.
There was none.
There was no middle class.
No.
I returned in 2012 because my kids were babes. Yeah, 2012. In 4 years, you noticed it immediately. You noticed it small,
but you noticed
small,
but it's there.
But man, it was there. You noticed it. The middle, it was there. You know.
Yeah. Hey, man, I tell you what. There are people right now in India, on what would be considered a very low level job, who are buying vehicles and cars. 30 years ago, that would have been absolutely unheard of. Unheard of. And same thing with China. All right. So Donna, just a really quick thing. Look up a gentleman by the name of Steven Pinker. Okay. He's a psychologist, and just look up Steven Pinker. All right. If you Google him, you'll find him. And listen to some of his lectures. It's all data. It's all stats. It's all details. It's not some fluff. It's actual data. Go look up that guy and listen to some of his stuff. And Jeremy says shades of gray, not polar opposites. I agree, Jeremy. It's always shades of gray. It's in between. And I'm interested in that middle ground. All right. I'm not interested in the I always say this, and I've said it very derogatorily in the past, and I'll continue to say it that way. I'm not interested in the far left knob jobs. I'm not interested in the far right knob jobs. And what I'm interested in is society that we're all part of, which is that middle ground, which I think we really need to focus on.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. And Donna May is Googling right now as we speak.
Yeah, do it.
So she's searching, and Marvin threw in China. So just as we were discussing, he threw that in there as well, which is
and you know what, you guys, good for China, man. Good for China. I think they've made a lot. Well, we've heard of the economic strides that they've made. We've heard of the a lot of the acceptance that they've got a long way to go. Trust me, they got a long way to go. But good for China in the last 20, 30 years, you know, honest to gosh, because it is tangible, you guys. It's absolutely tangible.
I just want to reference what Donna said about the middle class. She said the middle class has been reduced for several years now. Donna, I'm not disagreeing with you when it comes to the Western world, when it comes to places like Canada, the United States.
Yeah.
The middle class has indeed been reduced. All right. So please understand me there. I'm not disputing that. We have been reduced. But as a global phenomenon, the middle class has actually been lifted. There have been more people lifted into what would be considered the middle class, all right, in the last 50 years than any time in the history of our world.
And just think proportionate to India, China population here, guys. I mean, they tip the scales, baby. They tip the scales, and that's where it happens.
Right. And I tell you what, if you take China and India together, what's the population? 3 million? 3 billion?
3
billion.
1.4 and 1.1.
Yeah. So 3.3 billion people, which is almost half the world.
Which is 100%, 1/3 of the world.
Right. So
Yeah. So on a global scale, 100%. Yeah. So
did we miss any juicy comments?
No, Leslie Ann just jumped in. How do we define middle class?
Yeah, good question, Leslie Ann. That I mean, really, that's the question, right? And that's the question that needs to be answered in a discussion like this. When I say that it is the middle class and upper class that are going to be concerned with the environment.
Leslie Ann, I'll put it out there for you. I own my own home. It is not a big home. We are at 1,250 square feet. I have a full-time job. Well, I mean, you all know I got a couple of jobs, quite frankly. I have 3 children. I'm a single dad, and I am just over the poverty line. Just over the poverty line. So, and what I mean by that is I'm not middle class. I'm not middle class. I'm lower. I'm considered lower class.
Okay, and let's say, is it food security? Is it secure shelter? What is it that constitutes middle class? And those are very good questions, Leslie Ann. I would be curious to know what so over the poverty line is middle class. Again, good question.
Yeah,
it's a good question.
Yeah,
it's
what defines it?
What defines it? But and you know what, Leslie, and I think we should hold that as another topic for a day. I think it's a very good topic to discuss. What does it mean to be middle class? And obviously that changes in different countries. What it means to be middle class in Canada is far different than what it means to be middle class in let's say Vietnam.
Yeah.
All right. Or Cambodia or Bangladesh. I mean, in Bangladesh, middle class means a whole lot different. Or in Myanmar, right? What middle class over there means something vastly different than it does in Canada, United States. So, I mean, it means something vastly different in Canada and the United States. In the United States, I mean, middle class in the United States versus middle class in Canada means something totally different as well, right? So I think that's a great idea to discuss that another time. To bring it around to climate change, I don't know if you guys want to chime into this or if you want to argue with me or debate with me or agree with me, but it is my concerted opinion that climate change is literally solvable by how we treat the lowest in our society, by how we treat the people who are starving and cannot afford to feed themselves and cannot afford to feed their families. How we treat these people has a direct impact on climate change. If we treated them better, if we looked after them better, if we looked after humanity better, the climate change crisis would not be as much of a crisis as it is today. Argue with me, debate with me, agree with me, tell me.
Nope, well, I'm not going to argue or debate with you because I agree with what you just said.
Awesome.
Cliff, cool. I'm putting an exclamation mark on that because I agree wholeheartedly.
Cool.
Leslie Ann says, I think middle class means possible struggle, but opportunity to earn success.
It's a pretty good definition, Leslie Ann. It's a pretty good definition.
Yeah, but okay, I like that, Leslie Ann, but then you have to take that definition and you have to input that definition, not on a global scale. I think you have to put that definition on a national scale, nation by nation scale. It doesn't work for all nations. That definition does not work for all nations.
I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree in many ways, and I think what Leslie Ann is saying makes sense. But I think
I do too.
No, and I agree. But I think definable terms might need to be in there, right? Because that's not.
There has to be caveats.
Yeah, there has to be a definable term, right? So to start with the opportunity to earn success, now we have to think of what the definitions of success is, right?
Yep.
Because if the definition of success is feeding yourself and having shelter, now we're back to being middle class.
Yeah.
Right. So in terms of that, I think Leslie Ann, I think the devil is going to be in the details, as they say.
I agree.
And Leslie Ann did ask earlier, she said, who decides what the poverty line is? And Marvin came in with, my opinion of the poverty line is whether or not necessities can be paid. I do not know who decides that.
Correct.
So again, yeah, it's, who determines the definition of poverty and middle class to upper class? What is the proper definition for each of these different levels?
Right.
Well, and it's all in statistics, right?
It is in many ways. It is in many ways.
Statistics.
Right?
The Canadian government, Stats Can, is going to take, they're going to take the employment percentage, and they're going to take inflation into account. It's all in statistics. Do you know what I mean?
That's the answer. Wow, we're discussing what the terms are. We're turning into philosophers. Leslie Ann, you knew that was always the danger.
That's why. Hey, Leslie Ann, that's why we have Cliff, man. I ain't no philosopher.
The Podlies are philosophers. I can't even say it.
Here.
Did you say the Podlies are falafel eaters?
That's what I said. The Podlies are falafel eaters now.
Falafel eaters. I love falafel.
Yeah, and Paul's drinking his whole bottle of beer there now.
Whole
So his
beer.
whole jug. So
I just think we're approaching climate change and what we can do about it. I think we're approaching it in certain ways. We're approaching it very well, but then we're not approaching it from a ground level. And I think that needs to change first, because I'll repeat myself, until such time that a person is fed and their children are looked after medically and nutritionally and so on and so forth, I promise you the climate change is very, very, very low on the scale of their priorities.
yeah, no, for sure.
It's very funny. Sorry to interrupt, Bill, real quick. It's very funny. When you look, when an election comes up and they do all those bloody polls, and they often talk about, okay, what's the most important topic for civilians? What's the most important topic, right? Have you noticed that climate change 10 years ago was top 1 or 2? Did you notice that? Top 1 or 2. Climate change. I don't see climate change in any of the important topics of conversation in terms of election. No, I've just noticed. Statement of fact. I've just noticed that.
Yeah, it's definitely probably not in that top 10.
Do we not care about it anymore, or is that the way it is, or what?
Are there too many people hungry to care about it?
Do we not care about it anymore?
Yeah, could be for sure. So we're down to
better not lose my barley.
We're down to about 4.5 minutes here, gentlemen. So I think it's another opportunity to talk about the fact that in 2 more episodes, we're on Epi 100 for the Podlie Podcast 24-hour marathon. So we still have lots of interview spots to fill.
Yeah, Laura, Donna, have you guys called? Marvin, we know about you. William Kirkland, what about you?
Yeah, Jeremy's on board. He's joining us on the Saturday afternoon. But we gotta get some of you more sign up. There's lots of late night times if you feel like you really want to come out for an early morning. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh man, those are the times, man. Those are the witching hours.
See, those are the ones that create the memories, boys and girls. Those are the hours that creates the crazy conversations.
Okay, right. Nicole says I'm in. Nicole, have you signed up? Have you set aside some time for yourself?
Yeah, I haven't seen a time, Nicole. Laura, I did see your messages. Now you had those said at one point that you thought you were going to come on at midnight, but then you were talking about a morning time. So I just wanted to get confirmation from you what you were looking at.
Okay, so Nicole, email any of us. All right, myself, Podlie, Bill, doesn't matter. Email any of us, or not email, but Facebook even. And yeah, we'll set up a time with you, no problem. And we have a spreadsheet on Google that all of us are looking at. So so she says she needs to check the calendar. Yeah, check the calendar and do it. And Leslie Ann, I've not heard from you. So Nicole will message. Laura, continue. Donna, hey, Donna, want to argue about something? Want to argue about climate change? You want to argue about about the middle class? I'm just, hey, Donna, I hope you know I'm just razzing you. But yeah, you should come on.
Thanks, Donna. Sorry, Donna just sent. Okay, so that's where the confusion was, because I was a little confused with the messages. I wasn't sure, Laura, if you were coming at midnight and Donna was. So Donna's coming at 10, Laura at midnight. I'll make sure you guys are added to the schedule.
All right, perfect.
And boys and girls, friends of the Podlie podcast, if you have friends that enjoy conversation, that enjoy the art of conversation, that quite frankly, what we've been doing with all of you over a year now, this is an art, man. Conversation. Tell them to book an hour with us. They can come in and let's do an hour on air, man. Talk to your friends, talk to your family. I mean, it's going to be fantastic.
And even if for whatever reason you can't make it in, tune in. Get your friends to join us and tune in, and
100%.
Be part of the 24-hour marathon and watch the podcast with us. So
hey, I'll put out a dare out there. I dare anybody to commit to joining us for the whole 24 hours.
Yeah, let's see who.
Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're doing laundry, you could be listening on your iPhone. If you're driving, you could be listening into your car. If you're doing dishes, you could be watching us over the sink on a iPad. I dare anybody listening to commit for the 24 hours.
If you have waterproof capability, you could watch us while you're in the shower.
Exactly.
So,
and then if you have a camera, we could watch you.
Yeah. on that note, Cliff, how about you do your wrap-up spiel before we get sued?
Sorry, I'm just saying. All right. All right. Well, I tell you what, this has been, and I like it. This has been a spirited discussion, and I know I personally, I won't blame these guys. I personally took the climate change debate, or whatever you want to call it, in a whole different direction. That was on purpose, because I would love if people thought about it from a different perspective than what we are being constantly and never-endingly being bombarded by the media. Let's think in different terms than the media, you guys. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a fun discussion. Thank you for all your input and all of your participation and so on and so forth. We love you guys. We thank you so much for being a part of Must Listen Monday. The show would not be without you, would not be the same without you. So we constantly and never-ending appreciate you showing up. If you like the podcast, please share it, and share it via Messenger, because you get a better response. And if you don't like the podcast, well, please share it anyway, okay? Because we're trying to build this here. And if you happen to not listen to it live and you're going to listen to it later, Mr. Bill?
Audio-wise, anywhere you get your podcasts. So iHeartRadio, Google, Spotify, pop on there. You can download it and listen to it in your car, or listen to it later, or listen to it after. Whatever works for you. Or again, as Cliff's already said, share it, watch it on Facebook, and now on YouTube, because we're putting it up on our YouTube channel as well. And just before we wrap up here really quick, Jeremy says, Cliff, I already watch you in the shower. So apparently you
oh, wait, but that was for Cliff? The hell, Jeremy? That was for Cliff?
All right, everybody. Thanks, and we will see you next week for Epi 99. And after that point, we're out of here for 100. We got to prepare for the 24-hour marathon. I got to train. I got to get trained.
With like 3 days of sleep. Yeah, right.
All righty, everybody. Have a great night.
Happy.
We'll see you later.
That was a bad heart. Okay, wait. Let me get my heart. There we go.